Hello CFI and future CFI, this is Priya. Welcome to my video. So this video is in continuation of Fundamentals of Instruction Task F, Technique of Flight Instruction. I couldn't continue the 8th point of aeronautical decision making because the video was getting too long. So now this is part 2 of Fundamentals of Instruction, the Task F. Let's get started. What is aeronautical decision making? FAA says it is a systematical approach to the mental process where a pilot continuously decides the best course of action in response to the given circumstances. It is very important to make decision. Aeronautical decision making also consists of the risk management, situational awareness, and single pilot resource management. Why it necessary? FAA says we have improved the safety margins a lot, but 80% of the time it's always a human factor which is a cause of the accidents. And the human factor is the chain of the decision, not just one decision, but the chain of the decision which allows the accident or incident to happen. The one example is if the pilot was late for the flight, so he did not check the current weather. During the pre-flight, he assumed that the fuel tanks are full. He did not check the fuel indication visually by opening the fuel tank, and he didn't check it. And then when he took off, he was low on the fuel, so he diverted to the other airport, and he got into a bad weather. When he got into the bad weather, he was too high, too fast, got disoriented, landed, but now he overshot the runway. So this situation should have been avoided if the pilot was on time, or he would have checked the weather and during the pre-flight itself. So now as an instructor, we need to help students to be able to make sound decision to avoid the situation. And how do you do it? The first thing is start on the ground. To follow the checklist, the personal checklist is the I am safe model. If the student physically is not capable of making decision, then he won't be able to make decision in the air. So the first one of I am safe model is illness. Pilot shouldn't be ill, otherwise he won't be able to make decisions. Pilot should not be on medication. Even over-the-counter medication can seriously affect our decision-making ability. If you have to, consult aviation doctor and let him recommend what medicines are okay to take during flight or during flying. S is stress. Some amount of stress is normal, which heightens our reaction time, heightens our ability to act. But if the stress is too much, people cannot cope up with the stress. It affects your functioning capability. So make sure that we help students to manage their stress and self-assess the stress. A is alcohol. Please do not drink and fly. Don't drink and drive, don't drink and fly. FAA recommends to take at least 8 hours of break after you drink alcohol or you consume alcohol. Even as every individual is different, so even you take more than 8 hours or a whole day, take it, because even very less amount of alcohol in your blood can seriously affect your decision making ability. F is fatigue. Please take rest, have sleep, be proper rested, and then fly, because if the pilot is fatigued, small changes or engine problem or any small changes in the flight, pilot will tend to ignore and he just want to get the flight done. So fatigue is not good. I remember my husband is an airline pilot, he's a captain, so I know they get to call off, like if they're fatigued they get a day off because of the workload. So FAA recommends, everybody recommends, it is the first thing, we shouldn't be fatigued when you're flying. E is eating and water. Don't take this lightly. Flying is very demanding on your body. So make sure you eat properly, drink water before you fly. carry some water with you, because dehydration or change in blood sugar level can affect your decision making process. So that is I am safe. The second module which helped to make aeronautical decision making is decide, which FA has given on the advisory circular. Decide first is detect. Detect the problem. When there is a change in flying or something, then detect that there is a problem is. E is estimate. Estimate that you need to take an action or any action is necessary. C is then you make a choice that yes, action is necessary and you are going to take an action. I is identify what action you are going to take. D is do it, take an action. And E is when you take an action, after that again estimate and evaluate that the action is working, and continuously evaluate that whatever you have done is working. When you are detecting the problem, make sure you detect and then you cross check that the problem is the same what you're thinking, because if you don't identify correct problem and you focus on then unnecessarily tasks and then you ignore what needs to be done. So it's always important to evaluate, estimate then what problem is, continuously monitor. The example to this ADM would be, suppose you're flying and then you hear some engine sound or the engine noise, roughness of the engine, and then you think maybe it can be a problem with the carburetor, it can be a fuel mixture, it can be heating, or it can be any problem which you don't know. So we can now you decide that we need to take an action, we don't need to take an action, but now you think no, we need to take an action, so you choose to take an action. Then what you do is you put your magnetos from both to right, and when you put it on the right, and the engine will start performing normally. So now you decide to keep it on the right itself, and then you monitor now if there is an engine noise or not. So first you detected there's a problem, you thought that you have to take an action, then you took an action, then you estimated and evaluated that your action is fine. So this is how you make decision making. So now what are the factors can affect your decision making? We spoke about I am safe, stress, and there are also flight hazardous attitude in flight. That depends on person to person. Remember we learned about the 5 hazardous attitude is macho. One is macho. So what happens as an instructor, we help student to get rid of their hazardous attitude. We identify and try to remove this attitude from the students. So students are different. If students have this macho attitude that I can do it, then you help student to think taking chances is foolish. Second is the anti-authority, where student would think don't tell me, don't follow rules, or I'm not going to do it, I'm just going to do it, doesn't care. So then you have to put this antidote is taking chances is foolish. Some students are impulsive, that they just want to quickly take an action. So for those students, we need to help them, tell them you not so quickly, think first. Some students are invulnerable. Invulnerable is they are new, they don't have any experience, or they are young, then they just think that, oh, whatever happens, accident happens to others, not with me, it won't happen to me. But then you need to tell student that anything can happen, it could happen to you. So you need to monitor, you need to, if there's any change, you need to monitor, you need to calculate the risk, and then you need to take an action. Then resignation is there are some students, they just give up because they have this self-doubt or some negativity in them, or low self-esteem. They just think that, oh, it's the end of my life, this is it, this is how I'm gonna die. I'm sorry, it's not funny though, but if that you suspect that, then you need to help student that they can make difference, they need to do something and they can come out of it, they need to act. So these are the 5 hazardous attitude, and we need to help our student to come out of it. Okay, so again, the second one is the stress. This, we spoke about stress, that we need to help students to manage their stress and assess their own stress.